Warm Sabbath greetings to everyone. I hope you've had a wonderful, wonderful week. It's been a great week here in Sussex. Beautiful weather. I've had some beautiful fellowship this week with many of you brethren out there, and it really has been a wonderful and mostly productive week this week. We're preparing, of course, for the upcoming camps. My wife and I, of course, serving at the Missouri preteen camp. So I've got a lot of work to do in preparation for that in terms of Christian leadership classes and all that sort of thing that I'll be preparing for this coming week. And then, of course, the kids, all the kids will be, two of them will be serving at the preteen camp, two of them will be campers, and then I'll have two, of course, campers at the teen camp this year. So they're looking very much forward to that, and so that's been something we've been anticipating. Again, it's been beautiful weather. I'm a little bit late this year, but I did finally get my pots planted out front, the flower pots. I got all my flowers planted today, and I always find that very enjoyable. It's kind of therapeutic getting out there and planting all the flowers in the pots, and so it's looking good, and it won't be but probably just a week or so, and those things will be nice and filled out, and they get a little sun and a little water, and they'll be beautiful. You know, something else is certainly on everybody's mind. This beautiful weather is wonderful, but in the midst of this beautiful weather, there's chaos in the world, and you know, who would have known that the referendum that took place this week? I mean, it's everywhere, all over the news. The referendum that took place yesterday and finalized that Britain has decided to leave the European Union. It was a very close margin. I think it ended up being 52 to 48 leave. And so, of course, there's always those that now are second guessing it because the pound is dropping and it's affecting markets all over the world. But, you know, who would have known? Except for the Church of God. The Church of God knows what is happening there, and we know that in terms of prophecy, it is certainly something that is, we might call it a milestone, a prophetic milestone. We know there's still a lot of Israelite nations that are still a part of the European Union, but with Britain's exit, the Brexit, as they were referring to it, now there's talk of all kinds of other nations, and most of which will likely end up voting to leave if they end up having their own referendum. And if you look at, just do a Google search and you find out, you know, just put in who else is proposing to leave the European Union. Who else do we see except for the French? The French are clamoring for their own referendum. And they would like to have their own referendum and likely will be leaving. We know that the French are prophetically, they're Reuben, they're Israelite. And so we know that they are likely not going to be a part of the beast power either. And so things are dwindling down over there in Europe, and certainly chaos and that sort of thing is ensuing. And there's a lot of Euroscepticism. If you just look that up, you see the tremendous articles and where that's mentioned so often. There's Euroscepticism, of course, after this type of thing. But that Euroscepticism could very well be leading to a powerful leader that comes in and certainly brings about the kind of unification that we're talking about. But right now, with all these Israelite nations mixed in with the Gentile nations and the coming beast power, we know what the scripture says: a house divided against itself cannot stand. And so we've got Israelites mixed in. They are more than likely are going to be leaving the European Union. So we have the French that are going to be leaving, the Dutch, because the Netherlands are also, they feel that they deserve a referendum as well, and that they're calling that the Nexit, the Netherlands exit. So we've got the Frexit, the French, the Nexit, which is the Netherlands. The Netherlands, of course, they're Zebulun. And then we also have other ones just to keep an eye on. There's not quite as much in the news. Oh, there is also the Swedes. Sweden is also calling for their own referendum. And that's NAFTA, of course, and they're calling that the Swexit. So the next ones to look for are the Swexit, the Frexit, and the Nexit. So they've got all these Israelite nations that are clamoring for their own referendum to leave the European Union, and more than likely that will certainly be a catalyst for those beast power nations to come together, give their power over to the beast, and those 10 final nations that give their power and authority over to the beast. And then we've got the other ones to keep an eye on is Denmark, and we know that's part of Benjamin. Denmark is also sort of leaning in that direction to have their own referendum. And then, of course, with Britain leaving, it's very likely that Ireland will be wanting to have their referendum as well and to leave. And that was part of the agreement when they entered the European Union, that they would have the ability to, by referendum, to leave the European Union. And so we have all of these Israelite nations. At this time, prophecy moves ahead, and many of those Israelite nations are clamoring for their own referendum to leave the European Union. It's going to leave them in a lurch. It's going to leave them in all of this Euroscepticism in the air. But we know how things are going to turn out. The world just clamors and they just talk and they've got all their prognosticating. We have prophecy, the sure word of prophecy, and we know that that beast power is going to be led by Germany and those 10 final nations that give their power and authority over to the beast. And of course Israel, they're going to be the primary recipients of those, the terrible suffering that's going to come about. It's a time of Jacob's trouble. It's a time of trouble for Israel primarily, and there's going to be of course, that's going to take place as they continue to, more than likely, to leave the European Union and give Europe a reason to come together, to unify. And they certainly would be looking for a strong leader, I'm sure, along with this Pope who continues to give. I saw a video, you might have seen the video posted this last week, the prayer by the Pope, and he brought in a Buddhist, and he brought in a Jew, and he brought in a Muslim, and all these other different religions. And really what this prayer was all about is that we're all really children of God. You see, that whole concept is the Pope really saying, there's not that much, there's more that we agree on than we disagree on. See, that whole ecumenical movement that this Pope is so focused on. He's an ecumenical guy. He wants to bring all of these religions together. He wants to bring them all, certainly the Protestants, back into the fold, but he's reaching out to all kinds of religions. And so it really does smack of that, which Catholic means universal anyway. He wants a universal, one world religion. And we know that near the end of the age there is going to be a very popular movement that's going to be led by a very powerful beast power and a false religious leader that is going to deceive the whole world. And yet we're going to be the voice of, in one sense, crying out in the wilderness, trying to let people know what is happening and not to be fooled by this system, but to stand up against it and to be faithful and to be strong and to understand and acknowledge and live by the truth. So lots and lots going on. Prophetic milestones are happening. Prophecy moves forward. I hope we're all really buckling in and staying close to God. I hope you all are staying close to God. Please stay close to God. Prayer, Bible study, regular fasting, fellowshipping with one another, talking about the things of the Spirit, keeping our minds on things above and not on things down here on the earth. So, brethren, I love you. I hope you have a fantastic Sabbath. We are planning on, because of my guffaw in the scheduling, I wasn't really scheduled to be anywhere because I thought we were going to be in Missouri for the preteen camp, but that was actually a week later. That won't be till next weekend. So this weekend was open, and we decided to sort of pencil in Joliet. So we're looking forward to being in Joliet in the morning, seeing the brethren there, having the opportunity to visit there and fellowship, and we'll just be headed to Joliet. We're not going to try to make 2 services tomorrow, but spend a little extra time there in Joliet, and we look forward to that very, very much. So the rest of you, I hope you have a fantastic Sabbath, a wonderful upcoming week. I don't know if I'll be talking to you for a couple of weeks because of our travels with the camp, and then on our way home, of course, we'll be in Columbia, Missouri for services next Sabbath, and then Kansas City the weekend after that. So we'll see you all again pretty soon. And in the meantime, I love you all. Have a wonderful Sabbath, and take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.